Okay, so welcome. This morning we've got a core stroke ab session. We're going to work for about just over 20, maybe 25 minutes. And we've got sequences. So each sequence progressively increases in intensity. So you can choose which version you want to do. You're going to do 3 rounds of each exercise, and you can choose whether you stick with the basic or add as you go. So I'll talk you through it as we go, and we're starting lying on our backs. Okie dokie. So make yourselves comfy. It is absolutely freezing here this morning. I've been down 40 minutes to get it warm, and it just didn't work. I might as well stay in bed. So staying lying on your back. Let's all just take a second as it's early and cold to just really think about our positioning. So I'd like you ideally to have your little arch in your lower back here, and you're going to be resting on your tailbone, and you're going to just make sure that your hip bones and your pubic bone are on a level plane. Now, if you need a little bit more support for your lower back for these, then I would just advise a sort of 10 or 15% tuck. So you just gently lengthen your lower back and squeeze the tummy a little bit more, and the hips move ever so slightly towards the ribs, and that will just give you a little bit more support, but also you'll immediately feel more connection. So if that's you and you struggle to feel abdominal connection, then just take that little tuck. Relax your shoulders, everybody. Let those arms go, open your chest. And then we're going to start by just taking one leg up to tabletop, holding that tummy nice and strong, holding that position and that little tuck, and then join it with your second leg. So your first exercise option is a toe tap. So we exhale to lower and we inhale back up. Now keep going exactly like this, and I'm going to show you your options. Option 1 would be to start with feet down, and you could just lift and lower and alternate side, lift and lower. Or if you're in tabletop and you want a little bit gentler, draw your knees in a bit closer. Try not to lose the position in your pelvis, but have the knees a bit closer and it adds less weight. So these are your options, and you're just going to go through these. Exhaling to lower, ideally, inhale to bring up. And the reason we exhale is because we want to use the breath to connect the abdominals. So the more out breath you can use, the tighter your belt will be, the stronger that support is going to be, and the less likely you are to use your lower back and shoulders. Okay, so what I often find is that people that use their shoulders too much tend to have a battle going on between shoulders and abdominals, which can be stronger and which can do the most work. So if you can really hold this little tuck and actively, you have to really actively switch those shoulders off. Sometimes people prefer to have the arms up, and that can help because that weight of the arms down into the floor can be really useful. Exhale, lower, inhale up. We've just got a couple more here, and then we're just going to pause at the top here. Now you have an option, you can rest your feet down if you'd like to. Otherwise, we're going into option 2, which is a faster version of what we've just done. So we're going to tap one foot, and then we swap, and we swap, and we swap, and we swap. Now, with this faster version, you need to be even more aware of what's happening in your core, because your pelvis will be wanting to move. It will be wanting to wriggle around, move backwards and forwards, tip side to side. So you have to work hard to make sure that that stays really stable. And remember, the moving leg is the distraction. The pelvic stability is the bit we want to really focus on. That's the only bit we care about. The legs can move quite happily like this for ages, but the abdominals need to be reminded to work. So remember that little tuck. You can exaggerate that a little bit if you need to. And if you're starting to feel it in the front of your thighs, you can absolutely take a break whenever you need to, but don't let that feeling distract you from abdominal control. Pelvic floor can help you here, as can a little squeeze at the bottom. So keep going like this. When you're ready, you're going to take those legs back up to tabletop, arms to the ceiling, and now we go opposite arm, opposite leg. So we open, exhale, open, inhale back. Opposite side, exhale, open, inhale back. Squeeze into that tummy. And think of, again, stabilizing in the center rather than focusing too much on the moving parts. So if you would like to add a little bit more to this, you could reach the leg, lengthen it away, draw it back. But the danger there, and let me show you, is that you create this arch and this flare through the ribs. So just try and make sure that if you're doing a lengthening, you're adding way more load. So you need to be sure that you can keep that stability in the center. Bear in mind, we're on our 3rd round. So it might be starting to get a bit tired. Your positioning will be starting to shift. So just be aware of that and take a break if you need to. You can absolutely stop and come back in a second. Reach out and draw back. Take a couple more, exactly like this, and then that is round one done. So hug those knees into your chest. Take a second and just come up to sitting. I'm just going to let someone else in. No, I'm not. They've disappeared. Okay. Right. So come up to sitting. Okay. So from this position, we're starting nice and tall, and our first exercise is just a round back, roll back. So we're going to have knees bent, feet flat, tummy switched on. And all I'd like you to do to begin with is have your hands around the back of your thighs and just extend your spine. So you lift up nice and tall. You're going to draw your shoulders down and broaden out through those collarbones. Draw the tummy in, tuck the ribs in, and just find that really lovely tall position. Remember, your sit bones are on the ground. They're the bony bits that you're resting on. If this position doesn't work for you for any reason, do it on a chair. Sit on a chair. You can do exactly the same thing. If this is too hippy, or you feel it in your thighs, or you just can't get that height through the spine, sit on a chair and you can do exactly the same version. Shoulders down, hands behind the thighs, elbows nice and bent. Now, when you round here, I want you to squeeze like you're pulling your belly button to your spine. Like there's a piece of string pulling you back and rounding you. So you're not traveling backwards, you're just rounding. Shoulders come down, you're looking down to your thighs. And then you're going to take all the energy you've got, stick your sit bones into the ground and lift yourself back up to that extension. Now this position should still be abdominals. Draw that belly in and lift up through your pelvic floor if you can. It's a good position to find pelvic floor because you've got all your weight down on that area. So pull away from the ground. Be careful when you're lifting through pelvic floor that you don't lift up through the shoulders. We go again. Inhale, prepare. Exhale, scoop that belly in and round. Remember that piece of string that's going through your belly button, out through your lower back and pulling you into this kind of rounded, tucked position. And then we lift up nice and tall. And remember, the temptation here is always going to be to round through the upper back because we have loads more space there. The movement I want is from pelvis coming under and that scoop in of the belly. Lift up tall, hold this height. This time we're going to go round. You can keep the hands where they are and you're going to curl back until your arms go straight. So the temptation is to go too far, but I want you to really scoop from the belly. Once your arms are straight, hold there and then travel forwards. Try not to pull with the arms, nice and light, and then lift up tall. Remember that height when you go tall. This isn't your rest. This is the opportunity to really lift from the base. When you're ready, we go again, round. Tuck that tail and really find a really good round back before you travel back. Shoulders down and we curl back, extending those arms, scoop the belly, hold here, travel forward, scooping the tummy in even more, and extend up nice and tall, okay? We're gonna go one more time like that. We round, we travel back. Now make sure as you travel back that you take your pelvis with you. Your hip bones need to travel too. So you really tip off of your sit bones. And when you're in your far position, you're really pulling that tail underneath to get that round back still, to maintain that. And then you travel forwards, you come over your pelvis, and you lift up nice and tall. Okay, so that's your option one, and you can go back to that if you need to. Take a break if you need to, let the legs relax. Arms overlap. So now we speed it up a little bit and we're going to add in a rotation. So shoulders come into play here as well. So I want you to drop your elbows down to your bottom ribs and just keep them there. Let those shoulders relax. Now, as you're lifting into your tall position, your spine is lengthening up, but your shoulders are still drawing down. Okay, so don't let those shoulders come up too. They'll want to. Lift from the belly, round into your C curve and keep your arms close in. Find that C shape, drop the shoulders, travel back. Now, you go about the same distance as you did when you straightened your arms before. Hold it here. Don't be tempted to go too far because you'll lose your tuck. Scoop that belly in. Now, when you're ready, you're going to turn to the left. Rotate back to center. Now, to be sure that you're not leading with the arms, you only want your elbows to go roughly to the outside edges of your thighs or your wrists even. If you keep your wrists in front of your face, in front of your chin or below your chin, as you move, your eye line will come to the outside edge of the thigh. Don't be tempted to move all the way around here because you won't be moving from your center. You won't be moving from your core. So we go to the other side and back to center. Now keep going with these. Just check in. Is your pelvis completely still? Are you still tucking your tail under? Are you still drawing your belly button into your lower back? Are you still engaged through pelvic floor? Ideally, if you can. Don't worry if you can't. We've got a month coming on pelvic floor soon, so don't worry. If that's a thing for you, it's coming. Shoulders down. Relax into that upper body and just move the ribs. We've got one more in each direction. Keep that scoop. Back to center, other way, last time. And then we travel, relaxing the shoulders, coming forwards and lift up nice and tall. So, like I said, any of this can be done on a chair. If your legs are becoming a problem, jump up onto a chair. And sometimes it's useful, you get a bit more switch on in your center. Right, now, third option, we add a leg. So we drop the shoulders, lift up nice and tall, and we round into that C shape. Travel back. Now in this position, we rotate to the side, and as we do that with the arms just an inch off of the belly, you're going to draw the opposite leg in, and it's going to come just to the side of your elbow. And then back to center, lower it down. Other side. Inhale back, shoulders down. Should we make this a bit quicker? Let's go. So we've got 8 and down, and 7, down, and 6, down. Now, are you still scooping from your belly? 5, it becomes shoulders if not. You've got to find that tummy. 4, and 3. Squeeze and tuck under a bit more. 2, drop those shoulders. 1, center, travel forwards and lift up nice and tall. Relax there. Coming down onto one side. Okay, so side exercises. We're not going to be here for a huge amount of time. We're going to start with knees bent and we're going to rest on this forearm and just press the ground away. Now, if you've got a shoulder injury, you need to be careful in this position. And the way to be careful is to really get your ribs and draw them away from the floor. And that really lightens the load on this arm. Be mindful though, that as soon as you lift those ribs, you might need to wriggle your elbow in a little bit because you want it directly under your shoulder and it might end up kind of out like this. So draw that elbow in, get it really right underneath you, otherwise you'll use your neck. Lift up through those ribs, hands to forehead. Now this first version is just a rotation, so the lift of the ribs is what makes it core. When you're ready, we turn that elbow in. Keep your hips and knees and thighs stacked, don't let them move. And then we open up, and as we open, you can go as far open as you want to, providing you're still lifting into that waist. So draw those ribs. Can you lift even higher? Let's go round, facing the ground, turn that elbow in, you get a bit of a stretch and opening through the upper back, and then you rotate and open through the chest. Now, these ones are really lovely for finding thoracic space, but you do need to make sure you keep that lift. And the thing I see most of all with these is this kind of sinking into it, and it just becomes a bit comfy. So let's make this not comfy. Pull away from the ground, press away from the ground, draw that shoulder away from your ear. You've got one more exactly like this. And remember, this is an option that you can absolutely come back to. And if you'd like to make this version more challenging, you can straighten the top leg. Okay, so that would be an option if you wanted to continue with those. Otherwise, you're coming up to a hand. So same thing here in terms of positioning. Get the ribs away and really lift up and out so you don't put all your effort down to that shoulder. 2 versions here of a side bend. Stagger your legs. Your first version is just to draw the ribs in, lift the arm up and over, and really find a big rainbow from your top hip to the tips of your fingers, really drawing those ribs in and then releasing back down. If you'd like to make it heavier, bigger, you lift your hips too. So we go up and over, squeeze into that belly, scoop and lift the rib cage and release back down. You've got 5 here. So we're going to go for 4. Squeeze that tummy in. Remember, you can keep the hips down if you prefer. If this is easier on your shoulder to keep the hips down, no doubt. But just make sure that the lift and the movement comes from the rib cage. And then again, you lighten the load on that shoulder. So you let the core do the work rather than the shoulder, poor little shoulder, trying to do everything here. We've got one more. Be careful as you come down that you don't collapse into those ribs because then you dump everything down into that shoulder. And then release back down. Take a second, come up, just give that wrist a little moment. We've got 5 more on this side where we're going to add in a rotation. So think like threading the needle. So the movement is whichever one you just did, bottom up or bottom down, hold it in your lift and we rotate under, reaching for the back of the room, pelvis still, and we rotate back out. So we hold this side plank, strong tummy. We go for 4. And open out. Remember, you can do this with your bottom down, just a big rainbow shape through your spine, really pulling those ribs in. And we've got 1 more here. Squeeze and lift those ribs to make space. And open all the way out and relax back down. Spin yourself around. We'll do all of that on the other side. So stacking the legs. And if you want to, you've got that option. Always remember if that's top leg straight. Now remember, we lift through the ribs and we shuffle that elbow underneath. So it's right under your shoulder. Strong tummy, hand to forehead, and we rotate in. So remember, legs stacked or one leg straight if you want just a little bit more imbalance. And imbalance is where we take ourselves often in Pilates so that you have to stabilize and you have to find strength in the more imbalanced positions. Let's go 2 more like this. Now, are you still lifting those ribs away from the ground? Are you still pressing the floor away with that arm? So you're really trying to be as far from the ground as you can. Make sure that your tummy is on to pull those ribs up and to stabilize that pelvis. You've got 1 more here and then relax there. Bring that leg, top leg to bend if it's not already, and come up onto your hand. Now this hand is quite far away. It's definitely not directly under. Excuse me. Arm to your side. Now remember, we have 5 here of whichever version you would prefer. Draw that shoulder back, roll, give it a big shoulder roll, open the collarbones, open your chest, and we come up and over. We have 5 of these. Get a big stretch and control down. Shoulder down and 4. And control down. And 3. Lift into the waist, control down. Now don't collapse into the belly or the ribs as you lower. 2. And release down. And last one, up and over. And coming all the way down. Now you can hold this here and take a breather, or come straight up. And we've got our 5 rotations. We go under. Now check in on that supporting shoulder. Press the ground away. Lift the ribs to create space and open. Exhale under. Inhale, open. Press the ground away. Lift those ribs. 3. And open. And 2. Opening up. And last one. Press the ground away. Strong lift through that waist. And release all the way back down. Take a moment. Relax onto your back. We've got a chest lift sequence coming up next. Okay, so these are going to go through very slightly more quickly. So again, option, hands behind the head, elbows into your peripheral vision, tummy strong, tail down. Now, try and remember not to move through the pelvis as you go into a chest lift. So if shoulders are your issue, bring your elbows a little bit further forwards so that you can get those shoulders away from the ears when you start. Remember, these armpits draw down. Tail on the ground, we exhale to lift. And inhale to lower. Exhale up. Inhale, lower. Now try and hold your neutral position. But if you can't hold it, you have a choice to make. You can take your spine into a complete imprint on the ground, and that will give you possibly an easier lift. It will give you more access, and you should find you get a bit more height. But if that's you and you're choosing this imprinted version, you've got to be able to maintain it. When you come back down, don't rock like this, forwards and backwards. So choose your position, whichever works for you today. Neutral is always going to be the optimum, but it's something you can definitely work towards if it's not coming or working for you today. So don't worry if it's not perfect. Let's go up and down for 2 more. Squeeze up, control down. Last one, and down. Take a breather if you need it. Continue with the same thing if you'd prefer, Otherwise, we rotate. We're going across on a diagonal, armpit to hip. And other side, across. And control down. Control back. Keep going side to side like this, keeping one shoulder blade on the floor, lifting the other off the ground if you can. Remember, we try and think of this as armpit to hip rather than elbow. So don't pull the arms across, think of rotating that rib cage. The rib cage movement is where you get the contact with the obliques. So you have to move the ribs to make this anything to do with side of the body, waist, obliques. And we really want that, but we need to stabilize the pelvis as well to make sure that we can maintain some control. So we not only squeeze up, but we also control down. Don't drop like a stone. Think of the exercise not being over until we finish the whole round. This just a pause and up. And if you struggle with that, the best thing you can do, just relax there, is to not come all the way down between each repetition. Just come to like a hover, and then you'll be ready and switched on again for the next one. Okay, third option, if you want it, legs to tabletop. We're doing a crisscross. So we go to the left and we reach the right leg away. And we start slow with these. We're going to rotate across for 5 and 4. Reach out strong through that leg. 3, remember any of the previous versions. 2 and 1, and we double time, final 6 here for 6 and 5. Don't swing. 4, 3, is your pelvis still? 2, 1, hug those knees in and rest yourself back down. Okay, one more sequence, over onto your tummy. We're going to start in 4-point position. So remember, if wrists are an issue for you, then on your knuckles, we're only here for 1 round. So on your knuckles is your option. Shoulders pull back. Just make sure you're not locked through your elbows, because it gives you less access to the shoulders. When you lock out, everything tenses. So soft through those elbows and draw the armpits back. Now, we've got a piece of string going from belly button through the spine up to the ceiling. You're going to tighten that piece of string so the belly lifts to the spine and then scoops the body up. So you really round through that lower back and then release to your flat back. Check on those elbows. On your knuckles if you need to, flat hands if you can. Exhale, scoop up. Inhale, lengthen. Open that chest. We go again. Exhale, round. Now, the next option here is going to be Sphinx. So you need to remember the feeling of this rounding, of this tucking of the tail, pulling up of the belly, scooping out of the tummy, and letting the whole rest of the body kind of just go with it. Shoulders are down. The leading force here is abdominals. And you really got to find that tuck, and your glutes can work to help with that. So Sphinx is all about the tuck. So find it in cat and you'll find your Sphinx is easier. So relaxing here, we're coming down onto the tummy. Remember, this is an option. So in Sphinx, legs are flat, feet are extended, and you're on your shoulders. Make sure again that you're not sinking down into the ground here. You want to be pushing the floor away. Hands interlinked if you can, elbows directly under your shoulders, so don't have them too wide. Bring them in. Strong tummy, looking forwards to start. You're going to scoop from the belly, just like you did in cat. Imagine that piece of string. Now, as you scoop, your spine will start to round, and it will just pull your pelvis just off the ground. Now, in this position, it could be easy to think my legs are working. They're not. They're doing nothing. My legs are completely relaxed. All the effort is on the tuck of the pelvis, the rounding of the lower back, the lifting of the belly, and then releasing back down. Relax there. Okay, so don't end up doing this, lifting that bottom. You can do that with no core at all. So I want you to really relax your upper body. You press the floor away, but then you let the neck move with the rest of the spine. So as you lift your belly, when you're ready, you can go again. Think of trying to find that cat. That's all I want you to focus on, is the tuck. As a consequence, your pelvis will lift. You might be up to your mid-thigh. Don't worry if you're not. I'd rather you focus on the rounding and the tucking than the lifting. Shoulders away from ears. Press that floor away. Relax your neck. You can look right underneath you if you want to, and release back down. Now, the way you know with Sphinx if you're doing it right is when you get the tremor. there's no tremor, it's probably not enough core. So shoulders away from ears. We've got one more here. This is your last exercise. It is confusing, so if you don't get this one, don't worry, we're going to come back to it loads. Facing forwards, lifting from that belly. Remember the belly lifts that we did in the beginner's course? Draw the belly up, tuck the tail under, let the head relax, press the ground away, slide the shoulder blades back, tuck your tail more. Can you squeeze it more? You can squeeze your bottom if you need to. Pelvic floor absolutely accessed here. Lift that belly button round your lower back and release back down onto the mat. And take a second here, look forwards, allow the chest to open and the abdominals to lengthen. And then when you're ready, you can press yourself up, come back into child's pose. Knees together, or actually knees wide is really nice after core. And then reaching the arms forwards. And just take a couple of breaths here, trying to kind of sink your chest down to your legs. If this isn't a position that works for you, you can always pop a cushion underneath your bottom. It just gives you a little bit more space, or have your bum high, that's fine. So, well done everybody. Thank you for being here. Any questions, let me know. Anything you're not sure about, just drop me a note. I will see you again next time. So thank you very much. Happy Wednesday. See you soon, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye.